You are watching Yeticket.com with Al McGhee, movie reviews and interviews. This is Yeticket.com, Yeticket.com, your entertainment ticket.
We are your entertainment ticket, that's right. Yeticket.com. We are your
Hey, this is Yeticket.com. I'm Al McGhee. I'm here with the director and writer for the movie Sinister. Whoa, scary film. Wow. Scott,
How you doing?
you directed this film. I saw it.
You did good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Awesome.
You know, but when Cargill came to you with the script, did you ask him, were you eating a bacon and egg cheese sandwich, or did you dream this?
I knew from what he told me that he had dreamed it, and he had 5 White Russians before he actually pitched it to me. So the whole thing was very surreal.
Yeah, the pitch I was 5 White Russians in when that happened.
Really?
But it actually originated from a nightmare he had.
And you had a nightmare too, Cargill?
Well, the whole story came from a nightmare I had. I watched The Ring, and I did what you're not supposed to do, which is take a nap immediately afterwards. And I had this nightmare about going into my attic and finding a box of Super 8mm films and spooling one of the projector. And what I saw was the opening shot of this movie.
Wow.
And it just really messed with me. And eventually I said, it might make a good film.
I thought it was a very good film. I really did. I like Ethan in this role too. You know. So how'd you come up with Ethan though?
You know, the character that we wrote is pretty flawed character, say the least.
Oh my goodness!
He pretty much.
I couldn't stand him at first. I said, "This selfish little punk."
He's a selfish little punk, you know. And so when it came time to make the movie, I thought, you know, who can I cast in this role and the audience won't turn on the guy, you know? Who can play such a flawed guy and have the audience not just hate him? And I thought, you know, Ethan Hawke. People will stay with him. If it's played by Ethan, I knew if Ethan did it, that you'd know he was a bad guy and a guy with a lot of flaws, but you'd stay with him. You'd stay interested in it. You might even root for him to get his stuff together, you know. And so I emailed Jason Blum, the producer, and I said, you know, I think Ethan Hawke is the right guy to play this role. Do you have any connections to him, or do you know his agent? And the email came back, he's my best friend, and his children are my godchildren. So I got an easy meeting with Ethan on that. That was great.
When you had your nightmare, Cargill, did you see Ethan Hawke in your nightmare?
No, the thing is that what I saw was just, you know, myself in that situation. I didn't see the story or Bagul or anything of that matter. That all came from trying to develop it into something workable. You know, how do I take this idea that I find really creepy and terrifying and translate it into a story that doesn't suck? Mm-hmm. And that's where eventually the idea for Ellison came from.
Wow. Now, Scott, you've done a couple other horror films before.
Yeah.
Now, why do you like this horror genre?
You know, I like it for a lot of reasons. I think I'm a horror fan to start with. You know, like most people, I like the feeling of getting scared in a safe environment when I know is actually a safe environment. But I also think that the genre is a great genre for ideas. You know, there's a lot of ideas in Sinister of you know who Ellison is and what he's afraid of, and it's kind of, to me, it's the genre of non-denial. You know, it's the genre where you go to face your fears, to confront the things that you're afraid of. And because fear is such a powerful emotion, I think maybe the most powerful human emotion, you make a good horror film, you make people feel things that are stronger than anything else they feel the week of the film, you know, and I think that's fantastic. I love it.
Now, Cargill, this is your first feature film that you ever wrote?
Yeah, I was a film critic for over a decade at Spill.com
that's what I do.
and Ain't Cool News, and so I mean, this is my first foray. I've written a novel that comes out in a couple months called Dreams and Shadows.
Wow, it's good. I've read it.
This is my introduction, and hopefully they'll let me stick around.
Wow! So you're gonna be like Roger Ebert.
Well,
he wrote a film years ago in the '60s.
He wrote a film before he became a critic, and he was in
and a bad one.
And reportedly, he wrote several more that he's just not credited on. God, what's the name of the director?
Stanley Kubrick?
Yeah, no.
Oh, it's not one of his?
Who?
No.
Sorry, my bad.
Who's it?
The guy who directed Valley of the
I
Dolls,
don't remember.
Russ Meyer.
Yeah.
I used to be a big fan of Russ Meyer.
Yeah, Russ Meyer claims that Ebert actually wrote several other films.
He sure did.
And
Other Russ Meyer films?
Yeah,
he sure did.
under assumed names, but Ebert claims that's not true. So, and he tells a lot of interesting stories about that. Yeah, but he went on to be a critic. There's a large number of people who are well known in the industry who started out as critics. Roger Corman started that way. All of the French New Wave started that way. Fulci started out as a
Wow, I'm learning something here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of guys who started out in criticism and then eventually moved on. And so it's not really anything new, in just that I'm one of the first guys to come out of the blogosphere. The guy who wrote Book of Eli, I'm gonna blank on his name right now, but he was a critic over at IGN.
Oh, he was.
I think he ran IGN.
Yeah, I did read that.
Yeah, and so I'm one of the first guys from the blogosphere to come out and make a film.
Oh.
And again, but Chris Gore also did it. Didn't work out so well for Chris Gore, but with My Big Fat Geek Movie. But yeah, it's not a new phenomenon, but I'm just the next guy to do it.
Oh, it sure is. And again, I enjoyed the film very much so. But the film is very scary, but it's also a mystery too.
Yeah.
Because you set it up like that.
Yep.
How did you do that, or why did you do that?
You know, every horror film has every horror film that's scary that works has a certain rhythm. You know, where it's spooky atmosphere, it gets a little more tense, and then it rises, and then something really shocking and really scary happens, a kill, you know, whatever it is, and then the movie kind of relaxes again, and lets the audience take a break, and then it starts to build back up, and then some scary stuff happens, and then it comes back down. And you know, like the slasher film builds up, somebody gets killed, comes back down, and in that down phase, in you know, cheaper, you know, less ambitious horror films, when you come down, you know, you have a bunch of teenagers yammering about what, you have dialogue that's boring, or you have, you know, conversations about, you know, between a husband and wife that don't feel very real. Our idea on this movie was to have a really scary movie that had that same pattern of really frightening horror and had the shocks and the atmosphere and all that, but when you come back down, instead of coming down into just kind of senseless talk, there would be two things. Number one, a real marriage relationship, you know, real drama going on.
It was a real marriage to me.
And as you said, a procedural, a mystery that Ethan was trying to solve, you know, that he is really on a case, you know, looking at these films up closely, you know, recording them and studying them on his computer and trying to crack open what this mystery is. And we felt that if we could get a real family, dramatic family dynamic in the movie and a procedural investigation that was actually compelling on top of a shocking horror film, we would have done something, you know, good.
Wow. Now, Cargill, when some of the horror scenes happen, is this something that's based on what you read, or again came out of your nightmare?
No, the horror scenes are all just invented from whole cloth. You know, again, the only thing I dreamt was that initial concept. Everything else is we tried to come up with some scares that were original, that were fresh, that were things that people had never seen before. We didn't want to, you know, rely on tropes or cliches. We wanted it to feel familiar, but ultimately end up being something that was just, you can't actually say, oh yeah, no, I've seen that in another movie, because you haven't.
Right.
And I've done nothing but watch, you know, films nonstop for the last decade, and so I've seen, you know, I've seen everything that the audience has seen, and so I know what they've seen before, and what they're unprepared for.
Yeah. Like you say, I was familiar with them, but I said, wait a minute, I really haven't seen it done like that. You know, to me, Sinister is a very good story, and great. Thank you guys for taking time.
My pleasure. Yeah,
nice
good
meeting you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
likewise.
Cargill, really nice meeting you. And again, like I said, I enjoyed the film, and I'm going to do my review on the film, you know, when it comes out here in South Florida. But I really enjoyed it last night, and I'm glad I got to meet you guys, that you created it and put it together, because I love films myself.
Excellent.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. What is happening?